doing a homemade bolognese sauce that, yes, I love to serve it over a nice thick pasta. This is not be the sauce for like angel hair pasta. That would be too wimpy of a pasta, too light for this. This is a really heavy bacon ground beef meat sauce, and it is absolutely fantastic. Ultimate comfort food. So we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of butter and a couple tablespoons of olive oil. We love our jejora oil. And then I took the time to really finely dice up about a cup of celery. We don't want big chunks. We're not making soup here. These vegetables are going to really be a great background flavor for the sauce, but the sauce is really all about meat. Onion and very, very finely diced carrot. So I want to just start sauteing that for a minute or so. My mom is known for her spaghetti sauce, and growing up, we lived next to an Italian woman who, every time she would make her spaghetti sauce, my mom would just like sit in the house smelling it all day long. So one day she just knocked on the door and she said, I have to know what your sauce recipe is. I smell it every once in a while. And the lady was kind enough to give her sauce recipe, and my mom's been making it ever since. But my mom didn't ever write it down, so I've got to get that recipe out of her. But I love when I ever go home, my mom lives in Arizona, to be in the kitchen with her and make that sauce with her. And it's, you know, one of those all-day deal recipes where it's not a rush thing, and this sauce is very similar. Not similar to my mom's. My mom's spaghetti sauce is totally different. It actually has pork ribs, country-style pork ribs in it, and ground beef and all sorts of different stuff, mushrooms and a lot of different stuff in it. This sauce has beef and bacon and heavy cream. It's just really fantastic. But it's similar in the fact that you can't rush this. So I'm chopping up some fresh garlic, about 4 cloves. This is going to make a big batch of sauce, or as the Italians call it, gravy. This is one of those fire in the fireplace, have a good book or a good movie handy, and hang out with the family, kind of all-day deals. Okay. My veggies are starting to cook down a little bit of salt and pepper. Just like soup, we're going to kind of season as we go. Not going to put too much salt in, though, because we do have some bacon that we're going to be adding. I'm going to drop some spaghetti sauce into my boiling water. The other type of pasta I use for this, sometimes it's a little harder to find. Sometimes you have to find it at some of those specialty Italian grocery stores. It's called bucatini, and that's a thicker spaghetti noodle, and I love it with this sauce. It really holds up well. A penne would also work great, or a ziti, masticholi, that would work well too. But you really don't want the thin, real thin pasta. This is a hearty dish. So we'll get our pasta in here. Season the water a little bit with some kosher salt. And bring that up to a boil. Okay, in goes our garlic. And you know the rule if you watch my show. Once that garlic hits the pan, 30 seconds, and really keep it moving. It'd be a real shame after you go through all this trouble to cut up all of those vegetables to burn the garlic and make the sauce have like a bitter taste. We don't want that. Okay, now we're going to add some bacon. About 1/4 pound of bacon that I just diced up a little bit. Get our pasta in here. Want to make sure it's all covered with water. All right. Oh, that bacon smells good. Bacon, onions, and celery and carrots. What a great smell. And that's also the fun of some of these recipes that are, you know, an all-day deal. You just get to smell it all day while you're cooking it, and then you look so forward to dinner at night. Okay, now, as far as the tomatoes we're going to use for this, the tomatoes, again, this sauce is really about the bacon and the beef in here. And we're actually going to be adding some milk and heavy cream, so it's not a real red sauce. It's more of like a brown red sauce. But don't be deceived by the color of the sauce, because let me tell you, people go crazy over this. So I splurged and bought some real San Marzano Italian tomatoes. Found them right at the in the regular aisle or in the grocery store. Sometimes you'll find this in more of the international section of the grocery store. Sometimes you'll find it near the canned tomatoes. A little bit pricier, but not that much more. But these are actually from Italy, and they're just really good tomatoes. These actually happen to have a little basil in there, and they usually come just whole. So I'm going to throw them into the food processor just real quick to just break them up a little bit. You could also do it by hand. Okay, so in goes, this is 1 28-ounce can of those whole tomatoes. I don't know if you can see the difference in the color, but they're just a really deep, rich red. And in this sauce, it's such a special sauce that it's worth it to get the better tomatoes. And I don't want a puree, I want a little bit chunky. So I think that looks perfect. Okay, let's get back to our bacon. And our celery and our onions and our carrots. Now we're going to add in our beef. And at home I cook that just a little bit longer just to get that bacon a little bit more done. Now we're going to add 2.5 pounds. Told you this sauce is all about the beef. Of a lean ground beef. And I'm going to come in here with my chop and stir and break that up, get it nice and crumbly. I remember making this sauce. I had a bunch of relatives up at our cottage over the holidays. And after a long day of skiing, downhill skiing, everyone comes in, you know, my nieces and nephews come in starving, of course. You know, skiing is quite a workout, and you're out there in the cold to boot, so you just want to come home to something, you know, a big, warm meal of comfort food. So I decided to skip the skiing, which I do every once in a while, and say, hey, the whole day to myself in the house with a good book. Yeah, I think I'll go for that. And my nieces and nephews are teenagers, so they don't mind that they're on their own at the slopes. Anyway, in they come, all starving, and I've got this bolognese sauce simmering, and a big salad made, and garlic bread, and I remember them kind of looking at the sauce going, wow, it doesn't really look quite like spaghetti sauce, because it is more of a brown sauce, and they were a little nervous about it. Let me tell you, there wasn't a drop left. Everyone went crazy over it. It is just incredible. How's our spaghetti doing? The one thing you really don't want to do, you really got to be careful to not overcook your pasta. Spaghetti does take a little bit longer than, you know, angel hair is such a quick cook, and I do love angel hair pasta on those busy weeknights or for lighter sauces because it cooks up literally in minutes. But spaghetti takes a little bit longer, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, but you don't want to overcook it. You don't want mushy pasta. That is never a good thing. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll take a break right now, and I just want my ground beef to be a little bit more cooked, and we'll start adding the rest of the ingredients. I told you this was one of those low and slow kind of recipes, so we're not going to get it all done in this segment, and then it's going to simmer for a little bit. But we've got a few other ingredients we're going to add: some heavy cream, some beef stock, a little bit of dry white wine, some milk, and then those tomatoes, just after this beef starts to get a little more cooked. So stay with us. We'll be back to finish up our bolognese.